So we're going to go through the journals or your journal. You have one, I have multiple. And I'm going to show you what we've done over these time and what you should have in your journal. And if you don't have something, you want to just make a little note on the back page. So the first thing is we drew your breath. So you're going to flip through your journal until you find where you drew your breath. And this was the drawing where you went up, and you went down, you went up, you went down, like that. And then some of it we watered over if we wanted to. So if you don't have that one somewhere in these 5 double page spreads, on the back page, just write, draw your breath. Okay. The next thing we did was we added shapes with our markers and we went over them with water. So this was a circles that I did with my marker. And then we also did on another page, we either did other shapes or we did like a line. Okay, so we used our markers. Okay, so if you don't have that one, just write it in the back here, because then you're going to go through your list and that's what you're going to work on. Okay. The next thing we did is we used tracing paper, and we wrote, we had a free write, or like a stream of consciousness write, and we wrote I am, and then we just wrote for 5 minutes. And then we took our, we circled some words that we liked, and we wrote a list of those words in our journal. So if you don't have one of the pages with a list of words, I think it was like 5 to 7, but I'm not going to be counting. I'm just going to say, yes, there's a list. Okay, so if you don't have that, put list of words from tracing paper, put that in the back of your journal. Then we actually put some marker on that and went over it so that it kind of obscured the writing. Okay, we let that dry overnight, and then we cut it up into little pieces in these little strips, and we glued it down. We tried to go over multiple pages. So you can see I have like 3 here, but then we kind of all end, and it just goes one continuous line. I've glued some stuff over it, but it just keeps going. Just like Dory, just keep swimming, right? Okay. So that was cutting up and the free write and gluing it down to the page. So you can put that in the back of the book if you don't have it. And that was the first week. That was through March 5th. The second week, we started with a warm-up, and it was the spiral. So we did this spiral here. We did it on 2 places on a page. So flip through, make sure you have a spiral somewhere. And if you wanted to, you can put watercolor over it. This one really bled and mixed, and that's fine. Okay, the next thing is we added collaged shapes. So we took either our let's see, we had graph paper. If you had notebook paper, you could put it down, or here's some more notebook paper, or you could have used your security envelopes, and we just cut out shapes and we glued more than one down to a page. We did that for a few pages. This one I glued in my graph paper here. You had graph paper in your kit. And it's just, you know, circles, squares, it could be any shape. Okay. And if you had, I had yellow notebook paper, but if you had notebook paper, you could glue those down too. And then we used our colored pencils here to go around those shapes and just outline them. So here I used outline the shapes. That was on Monday. And then last class, we wrote a letter to a friend. So we used our regular pencil, number 2 pencil or HB pencil, and we just made lines. And then we used our precise pen to write a letter to a friend, and it started with, I want you to know. I want you to know. And then we just wrote. Then we circled some words that we liked. And we tried to obscure the writing with water or watercolor. And it didn't obscure very much. I think that's because this is a different material. It really did obscure when we did it on the tracing paper. Right? And so I thought that it would work the same, but it didn't. So we can cover that up later if you don't like it or don't want it to be seen. And then we added in some fodder. So we went to our personal fodder, the things that we are collecting, that we're putting in the back of the journal, and we cut some different things out and we just glued them down. Here I put some there. Let's see. Find some more. I cut out some circles out of a Taco Time wrapper. I put in some of my Diet Coke and I wrapped the fodder around the edge. That's a really fun thing to do. I actually wrapped some security envelope around the edge there too. And I glued in, this was tissue paper from one of my kids' toys. Okay. And then the last thing we did was we traced our hand, right? And here's 2 versions of that. Put your hand down, you traced it. I think we used colored pencils first. And I just scribbled colored pencils all around the outside to really make the hand stand out. And then if you wanted to, you could have added some marker around the edge and bled that out with water as well to make it kind of spread. So those are all the activities we did. And if you didn't get any of those activities in your journal, I wanted you to just write it down on that back page here for now. And then I want you to use this list to start adding these things into your journal so that by Monday you have everything in your journal that we've worked on so far. So it's kind of like a catch-up day or like a day to make sure you have everything in there. And then on Monday, we're going to take pictures of our journal as it is, and we're going to turn it in so that I can see what you have. So this is like the kind of warning before the assignment is given to you to make sure you have all of these things. Okay. You guys have